First, I will tell about the report, how it was done, and then I will focus today on the marginalized voices in this climate change public discussion in Finland, who are marginalized here and why they are marginalized. And then at conclusion, I try to think or represent some opportunities how this situation maybe could be improved here. Okay, then to the report of Finland. The questions we had and to which we tried to find some answers were who are active in this climate change discussions, public discussion in our society, and who are not active, whose voices we don't hear. Then we tried to find out which kind of boundary conditions for citizen participation here exists. And this report was made in 2009. During that year there was this climate change meeting in Copenhagen, COP15, so this was done before that. And the survey was done by phone interviews for almost 70 persons, and with those interviews we tried to find out the networks of different kind of actors in climate change debate. They were from different kind of NGOs, from ministries, from enterprises, from very different kind of actors. And then we also did 14 longer chain interviews for these other questions and to make it more deeper, these results. And first, for your background information, some kind of background knowledge for the public debate, public discussion of climate change in Finland. Who are the actors, who are active in this discussion, whose voices we can hear when following the discussion? And you can see that there are many actors, these officials for kind of decision makers and civil servants in ministries, but also different kind of NGOs, environmental, non-governmental organizations, development NGOs, press, consumer NGOs, and kind of activists also without this NGO background, or maybe they are more experts than just activists, and research institutes also. But then, who are missing from this picture? Who are those marginalized voices? Let's see. In the beginning of this session, Jenny explained what is meant by marginalized in this whole Citizens Global Platform project. This is one kind of quote from our interview, how the marginalized voices describe themselves in this climate change discussion. The voices missing, not heard, or lost in that discussion. And here's a list about these marginalized voices according to our interviews. We don't hear very much about the viewpoints of persons who live in development countries expressed by themselves. We heard some situations, but not the persons themselves so much. Viewpoints of some people are missing from our climate discussion. Then the viewpoints of children and youth as actors. We kind of educate children and youth about climate change very much, but not so often see them as relevant actors in climate change policy. And also elderly people and their views and experiences and advice are missing. Then the enterprises who could benefit from low carbon society, their voices are also missing or unheard. The voice of nature didn't exist at those times at least. And then also some interviewers said that, well, the viewpoints of ordinary Finnish people are almost missing from the discussion. It's so much expert discussion. Then some words from these marginalized groups. I'm sorry I have this here in Finnish, but I kind of shortly tell what it means by English. So some people say that their voice in climate discussion is missing because there are so many acute threats for their culture. Destroying of forests, mining plants, wind power plants, hydropower plants, and so on. Everyone knows about climate change. Winter is not coming anymore and weather has changed. You can't read the weather anymore. But because of these acute problems, you don't have energy or you don't have capacity to take care of everything. When the situation is that you will have the forest of your pasture lands of reindeers destroyed in 2 weeks, then you cannot prioritize climate change process because it's so abstract and it takes you many years. And about the enterprises, what is meant by these enterprises, they can be the ones who try to find out new solutions. They can be inviters, but they don't always invite technology. They can also invite new ways of doing things. They are active on their own sector, but on the public discussion, we don't see them. And how about then the ordinary Finnish persons, ordinary Finnish people? An NGO activists think that almost every Finn or every Finnish person is marginal because the discussion is going on between very, very tiny amount of persons, those who are experts on these issues. Or then, on the other hand, there is no viewpoint that maybe after all, we all are experts on climate change. But we don't see that yet. There is no kind of discussion going on like that. Persons think that you must be a special climate activist to participate. Then the networks. We were calculating the contacts between different actors. Here are all the marks on the picture are the interviews, and they are located for that how many contacts they have with other actors. Here are the cooperation or partners in Finland, and then here are the foreign partners. Those persons who have very much contacts are with these red points, and those blue or black marks are those who are in marginal. But here we see that most of the actors in climate change discussion at those times at least have less than 40 partners in Finland and less than 10 partners in foreign countries or internationally. So the amount of contacts is not so big. But then you even see that although you have very much contacts, you may be a marginal voice. You need these networks to get your message through, and those red points, those knots, they are persons who link different kind of actor groups, and they also share the information in those networks. Then one thing that we observed was that the business sector, when it does advocacy work, when it lobbies, they lobby mostly the civil servants of ministries. And when civil society organizations or NGOs lobby, they try to focus parliament members and citizens. There's a different situation. Then a couple of words about the boundary conditions. how is Finnish society as platform for citizen participation, how it is seen? When comparing to many other societies, we have here low hierarchy. It's easy to call, for example, call ministers. It's allowed, it's possible. You don't even have to call the secretary, you can call straight to the minister. Then, on the other hand, our culture stresses for consensus, and our atmosphere doesn't encourage for public discussion, or at least public moral discussion, what is right, what is wrong. Or it's maybe more about rules or kind of technical points, but not this kind of ethical questions. Then we have this very strong belief in experts and officials. And then one thing is that there is demand to speak with only one voice for the whole group, and it means that you have to represent the whole ideas for example, NGOs. Though inside the NGO there might be many different kind of ideas or opinions, or when you are representing, for example, the whole civil society as one person in some processes. So you just have these. You need to have one right answer. Then one point or one typical thing in Finnish society is that the decisions are led, the preparation for decisions is led by civil servants, and the way to participate in that decision making are different kind of work groups, and there are very, very many work groups also in climate change issues. And to be able to work in those work groups, you in one way have to fit to that pattern. You need to work in some way as administration does. You have to have the detailed expertise in those issues. You have to present the ideas in form which is fit with those papers and those wordings. Then you need to have expertise also on the strategy level planning processes, how the papers are made and when is made that paper. And then also the groups gather mostly in Helsinki, which means that those groups that work in Helsinki, they have much easier to participate. You often have opportunity to affect the end product or wording of that, but you don't have opportunities to affect of the guidelines of the process or decide what is handled in that processes. And for our interviews, they were a bit frustrated because it's so energy consuming. Jenny already said that to participate is not enough. Civil society organizations want to influence, not just to take part. And in Finland especially, some persons are fed up with participation. Then this already came up, but what you need to do if you want to have an influence, you need to kind of challenge the Finnish society ideal of consensus, ideal that only their officials have opinions for those issues. And you also, one way, need to know when you have just the right to participate, when you really can influence. These are also elements for marginalization. Because when there is also, for the last point, for example, when there's only one voice for the whole civil society in some work groups, for example, just one representative of the civil society, how could she or he represent all of those NGOs?